the preach menu.
Thank you, God. This is the Port Orchard's premier church music podcast, Bad Brothers Podcast.
Bad Brother Podcast.
If you are a listener of the podcast, you are listening to Port Orchard's finest podcast, voted 2 years in a row, 2020, 2021, Port Orchard's finest podcast. So thank you for tuning in. A. B. You are part of the Bad Family.
Bad Family.
This is the Bad Brothers Podcast. You're part of the Bad Family. And thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, we're starting this podcast at midnight. That's why my voice is super sexy, as you know, from if you listened last week.
Oh, yeah.
We did what we haven't done in a long time, which was delete a recorded episode. So this is actually our third recording of the day, and it's going to be better. I am going to sit up right now, and if I have to, don't tempt me, Will, but if I have to, I will put on these sunglasses again.
I don't know about that.
And bring out the mojo that comes with wraparounds. Wraparounds give you a certain vibe. Sometimes they're known as Twitter MAGA vibe.
But they aren't Oakleys.
But actually, I was kind of at the tail end of wraparounds when I was growing up.
White ones?
They still exist, but...
Oh, yeah, they do.
These were very similar to...
They're not
what I wore in like junior high.
They're not pit vipers.
You know, strangely, wraps sort of look decent on me. I don't know why, but the big 80s ones are coming back. You know, the baseball players and football players, like stuff like that.
The pit vipers.
Is that who they are? Not Clay on TikTok.
Yeah.
He's got the big goofy shades and stuff. Okay, we got some things today, and we want to talk about gripes. I got a gripe first off.
I probably have a lot of gripes.
I'm going to bring out some shades for this.
Oh, boy.
Now, this is totally a random gripe, but it just bugs me. So, I'm in a money situation right now, and, you know, I make a decent amount of money at my work, but at least for right now, Tammy can't work. She has some health issues and things like that. And we'd probably be in a position where we try not to while Declan's still little, and then once he goes to kindergarten, maybe she can start working again. That's just a choice we made. It's not a choice for everybody. It's a choice we're making. However, it's just not a physical possibility right now anyways. However, what has happened in the last couple years, so what happened was, you know, we were looking for a place to live, and we were going to actually maybe move over here to Tacoma, where we're recording this right now, even though this is Port Orchard's finest podcast. We're recording in Tacoma for the time being, and what we had planned on doing at the time was moving closer to my work here in Tacoma, and
closer to me.
But at the same time, that's when Karen was wanting to go back to school, being a single mom, and it was sort of like other things happening in our life, and it was sort of a God moment, I'd say. Looking back, you have I'd say just a few of these moments where sort of stand out to you as sort of like a decision you feel like you maybe not have to make, but nobody has to make any decision, but you feel compelled to make based on your own convictions and what you want to do out of your own heart. And so we said, hey, Karen, we're in this position. We're we're not going to buy a house right now. We are going to support you. You can live with us while you're going to school. Well, in the meantime, the housing market goes bananas. Woo. Bananas. And like there's one house in our neighborhood that sold for like 275 or 270, 250 or something like that.
Like 4 years ago, or
yeah, like 2.5 years ago. Okay, and now it's selling for almost 500,000.
Whack.
It's insane. And so now we're priced out of homes, we're priced out of everything, and we're just like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? And so I just got money on the mind on my money, money on my mind. I try not to be like money, whatever, but it's just like, mom doesn't understand. She's like, you talk to her for half an hour and say like, hey, this is a situation up here. I make a decent amount of money at my job, but it's like for what everything costs, it's like I'm not really in a good financial position.
Yeah,
because it's not like I'm saving a ton of money.
This ain't the Lord's dirty south here.
Exactly. So I am.
This is Jeff Bezos.
But she's like, there's got to be something. And I'm like, did you just listen to the last hour? I said, no. I was like, no, there's not something. That's the position I'm in. There's nothing. So part of what that means is I got money on my mind. Okay. And
I'm there.
One of the things I've been thinking about, I've traveled. I've done some traveling. And I read Jalopnik on the internet. And sometimes I see these cars overseas or on the internet. And they're cheap little cars. They're nothing. But sometimes I look at the cars on the road. And I see cars that I want. Mm-hmm. I see 4Runners. I see a little M3.
Tacoma.
I see a Tacoma. I'd love to have a truck again. I see how the Ford Ranger, they copied the Tacoma. I'd like a Colorado. I'd like a Ford
Ranger.
I'd like a 4-door Colorado. Okay, but yeah, and also the resale on trucks is, speaking of bananas, bananas also.
No doubt.
And I was just like, why are we driving around cars that cost $50,000 when we all could be driving cars that cost $5,000?
There's a crazy statistic about like people that make like $80,000 to $100,000 a year drive the same cars that of like people that make like, I don't know, $5 million a year or something stupid like that. It's like there's this whole like concept of like, I need to drive I need to keep up with the Joneses. I need to drive this car. I need to have the, Honda Odyssey van with my 4 kids and the, TVs playing SpongeBob, or I need to have the BMW.
Yes. Yeah, all the inside stuff. Oh my gosh.
And so these people that are making, I'm going to adjust it now because if I remember correctly, it was way lower than I thought. It was like 60 to 80,000 are driving these same cars that of people that are making twice as much as them, because they're trying so hard to like be something, their car is such a status symbol and such like an asset to them, but not really I don't want to say asset because that's like assuming value, but in their mind, like an asset in their like mind and heart.
Right.
It's like they want to have this thing, but they're living in a house that's, a third of the price of the guy that's driving the same car living over here.
Yeah, you brought it up when we were walking out of the comedy club, and I brought this up. Is like, if they just go by what people will buy, and we think we have to buy a certain kind of car, a certain type of car, or a car that will go. I was just driving in the cars like the other day, and I was looking at my speedometer. I was like 160. I was like, why do I need a car that goes 160 miles an hour?
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah. It's just crazy. And especially when you go overseas and they have these cars that you're driving like number one, you're driving smaller cars. And two, some of these cars are like diesel engines that are freaking from 1972. You know, they're still driving around in.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I know they're bad for the environment, but that's not the point
some of these,
right
like
now.
JDM imports, it'll be like a V8 diesel 4-wheel drive Toyota Corolla. But it's like a 1998 Toyota Corolla, but it has a V8 turbo diesel, and it's 4-wheel drive.
Our transportation is just whack right now. When I was in high school to my first year in college, I think was the time when we had that gas jump, because I remember when I was first,
when it went over $1.
yeah, when I first started driving, it was when it fluctuated between like 99 and over $1.
Yeah.
When I started driving, you know, which was not super long ago, like
2004?
No, like 2000.
Oh, for some reason I thought...
It would have been like 2000, 2001, because 2001 was a big recession and everything, and that's when it happened.
What recession are you talking about?
Wait, 2002 is when I started college.
Okay, recession happened in like 2008.
The housing boom.
Yeah, that was like
whatever.
2008.
Oh, 2001. You know what that was?
Y2K.
September 11th.
Yeesh.
Sorry.
Big oof.
This is Port Orchard's premier political podcast.
Oof size, large.
But anyways, gas went to like 3 something a gallon, and I remember all the articles written about this. Nobody's driving habits changed.
Yeah. I know.
You know, driving habits changed by just a small percentage.
Because it's like, you still have to do what you got to do.
Exactly. So all the oil companies went, oh, hold up.
We can do...
We could have been charging 3 times as much money.
And people still are going at it?
Yeah. So people are going at it in their cars.
In their Hummers and their Suburbans and these things that are getting 11 miles a gallon.
I remember that Excursion came out right before the gas went up.
Oh, yeah.
That thing gets like 10 miles a gallon.
3 rows of Ford SUV.
Anyways, my point is, we could be driving like $5,000 cars.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Henry Ford wanted. He wanted a car that was affordable for every American. And just cars are crazy now. And all these things. I'm even down on cell phones. I think cell phones have ripped a bunch of money from the economy.
Oh, yeah.
And not really put that much money back into it. Because what have we gained? The money that it has generated into the economy is very centralized into a few companies, a few investors, and things like that. But it's not the kind of technology boom that really, you know, a rising tide floats all boats. It's not that.
It's not the space race.
It's not the invention of the internet. It's the invention of a cell phone. And so everybody in the United States is paying $100 plus for a cell phone bill that's not really adding that much value to our economy. It's just all these houses, everything. It's just like...
You don't think they're buying stuff
depressing.
on their cell phone?
But they would be buying, you know, you got to buy toilet paper. You got to buy...
Right. Because I know on my cell phone in the past few weeks, past few months of being home alone, and not home alone, but just home.
Alone.
It happens to be alone.
It happens to be alone.
I wasn't trying to make a point on alone. I just happened to say that. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Is I memorized my debit card number, and that may have been a positive or negative thing. Positive for when I need to like pay the electric bill. Negative for when I just like can buy a new jiu-jitsu rash guard on a whim on my phone.
Yeah.
Because I can just go, oh, well, yeah, I could just punch in. Where normally it would have been like, oh, I need to get up, or like I need to get up and get my wallet, you know, get the card, do it, punch it in, all that stuff, and it's just like a pain in the butt. Where now it's just like, oh, I have it all memorized. I could just
Yeah. I don't know. It's everything has been such a big downer money wise, because I think the part of it is like I have a job and there's people like my parents in my life who it's not their fault. They don't understand. Even mom, who grew up very poor.
They don't understand what it's like in this greater Seattle area now.
At this time, they don't understand how much things have changed. It was like the
whole boomer thing in 2009 when everyone's like,
okay, boomer.
The whole okay boomer thing was like, you're out of a job. Like, I had job struggles or whatever in the post-recession area. And it's like, oh, well, did you call around and see who's hiring?
Yeah.
Or did you, they don't know what a digital application is and all this stuff. And it's just,
I think
it's like they could get fired from a job and on the way home, on their walk home, find a new job.
Yeah, and a job that would help.
That would pay for a house, their wife not to have to work and just have babies and, go on with their life.
I remember reading an article that said U.S. buying power is pretty much at its lowest point ever since like World War II or maybe the Great Depression. So it's like our money and what we're able to buy and like how far our money goes is less than it's been for anybody than anybody alive can remember. And so it's like, of course it doesn't match up with your memory because it's never been this bad.
Oh, why don't you just look in the paper and get another job?
Exactly. So anyway, that's just a little gripe. I don't want this to be a gripey podcast. I want this to be a fun podcast that you listen
to.
Positive.
It's positive. You can do whatever the heck you want.
I can do whatever I want. Here's a positive update to my life, my king bed. So here's the deal.
Oof.
I'm really mad at anyone in my life who has ever owned a king bed and has not told me how dynamically it will change your life.
Mm-hmm.
So we are already
You weren't asking me because I would have told you.
We are already you got to tell me if something changes your life that much as this changed mine. I am now an evangelist for king beds.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going from town to town. I'm a traveling evangelist.
Yeah, if you are married and you have two people in the same bed, or you're over the height of 6'2", you need a king bed.
I'm the George Whitfield riding around on my horse of going from town to town, telling you the good news of the king bed.
I'm the Paul Revere of king beds.
King bed. Now we went with the king, the California king. King bed, 80 by 80. We happen to have
80 by 80?
Yeah, 80 by 80.
It's a square?
Yeah, we happen to have a family member who bought a memory foam king bed for like medical reasons, hoping to help some back and neck and everything problems that they had. But theirs were a little too severe to just change a mattress and think all things were going to be great. So they got it. They didn't have it for very long. They didn't like it. They put it in storage. And it's barely been slept on. They said, beep, 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 beep. We need to get rid of this. Sending out an email. Beep, 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 beep.
I had the same thing. Someone's like, we got this as a, a perk to like a interview or like a production thing they did, like a sponsorship type thing. And there's we've been trying to get rid of this, it weighs 300 pounds or whatever. We need to get this out of here. And I was like, I will take it.
And I will just say I've been looking for a way to get further away from Tammy in the bed. Now, I'm not joking about that. That is a true thing. If it were now, like it has been in the past, socially acceptable to have separate beds, I would have separate beds in a heartbeat.
Lucille Ball.
That is not a joke. I want separate beds. I wish I could have separate beds. But the unromantic, to some, idea of sleeping in separate beds with your spouse is just too much for Tammy to handle. So the next best thing is a wider bed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's already helped. I'm further away from Tammy as you listen. Oh, in a deleted episode. Okay, let me just tell you.
Are we for sure? We're deleting it.
Yeah. Do you want
Okay.
to?
I don't care.
We don't have to.
I didn't think it was that great.
Okay.
But I haven't re-listened to it.
Well, do I tell this story or not?
Tell it.
Okay, so I had this dream one time that I was living on a pig farm.
Oh yeah.
And
give us the short version.
Yeah, this pig farm, it was just like a children's book kid farm. So it's just got a few poles, some fences, but it's lots of mud, lots of fences, lots of little sections and pens all interconnected. Mm-hmm. It was like a little city, a little pig city farm, kids farm, pigs. And I'm there. I'm prodigal sonning it, hanging out with the pigs. I'm not sure why I was there, really.
All of a sudden, you start saying that pig is.
That's where I live.
He wants to hang out.
But I'm there, and like I said, this is 13th Warrior situation. I start listening into the way that pigs are talking to each other, and I can start to pick up their language. Mm-hmm. And I'm in my dream, and I'm not interpreting it into English, but in my dream, I know I'm sort of understanding it, even though I'm not in my dream understanding it. The me in my dream was understanding it because I was listening to these pigs. I was working in their pens. I was living with them. I wasn't able to live with the humans. I had to live with the bovines. Bovines? No, swines.
Yeah.
Supines. Oh, that was bears. Gosh, we deleted so much.
No, those were ursines.
Oh, ursines. Porcupines.
Pigs might be bovines, actually.
And give it a goog. And anyway, so but what happens? The big sow.
Oh, there you go.
The big sow. She comes after me.
Mama sow.
She finally gets fed up with this freaking human that's living with them and stuff, and she starts chewing me out. And pigs are scary.
Kill more people than sharks every year.
They'll bite your calves off. They'll do the mafia's job for them. They'll take you out. They'll cover your bones and lie, and you'll be gone forever. And so this pig starts chewing me out. She doesn't like me there, and I can understand it. And she's just chewing me out. She's backing me up. I'm scared. She's so big. She outweighs me by so much. And all of a sudden I slip in the mud, and my feet are, sticking out in front of me, and I'm scooting back. I scoot back into this post, into the corner of this pen, and I can't go any further. And this pig is just in my face, yelling at me in pig language. In my face. I'm scared. What's she going to do to me? She's 2 inches from me. And all of a sudden I wake up, and it's not the pig that's 2 inches from me. It's Tammy snoring right in my face.
Oh my God.
Now, Tammy doesn't snore very much, but on this night, she was really bringing it right in my face. And for some reason, I was sleeping on my left side, which I don't know why. And yeah, so she was snoring. So it was then I knew that I had to move as far away from Tammy as possible. There's just something about it. Even though I fall asleep fast, I don't know what it is. Even if it's subconscious, some of the way I am sort of unsettled that night or something, I'm not sleeping as restfully. I will tell you, as soon as we got the king bed, I slept like a baby.
I know.
Does it have
the microfoam or whatever? A little foamy action?
The memory foam?
Memory foam, yeah.
Yeah, the microphone, it didn't do much, but the memory foam, I was surprised because we got it. I was like, oh, this is harder than I expect.
That's how mine is, yeah.
But when you wake up in the morning, that's a different story. Mm-hmm. The only downside is sometimes I'm a little warm when I wake up in the morning. But yeah. I'll tell you another story is Tammy has vertigo issues. It's neurological related. It's not physical. It's not a physical situation. It's a neurological situation, but it can be affected by physiology. And the way she's been sleeping since we got the memory foam mattress, it has cured a lot of her back, neck, and shoulder issues.
Interesting.
Just like very quickly. So
I sleep on my side, and I usually have like an arm under, my head or neck or shoulder area, and it's, it's more relief on that.
So what really needs to happen is we need to get 2 memory foam mattresses on different parts of the room. But for now, we will sleep on the 80 by 80 king size bed, and we're sleeping so great, and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you've been thinking about making the switch, do it, because it's a world of difference.
And if you needed to know, pigs are from the family, I'm guessing it's Suidae, Suidae. I'm guessing like swine.
I guess so.
Or just Suidae.
Suidae. Sounds like some kind of Nordic sort of thing.
The atriodactyl mammals.
Okay.
Even-toed ungulates.
There's a certain fact in my life that I think about a lot. Let's drop it. Let's
bring it, because that's like runs my life.
There is a certain fact that I think about all the time.
The sunglasses.
I have my sunglasses on, and it's
12, 34. 1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3,
and
4.
we have 2 candles lit and the oven light on.
It's so dark in here. And of course, not my prescription.
0 prescription.
And anyways, so, and it sort of mixes in with how we're raised. Okay?
Really? Tell me, I'm interested.
There's a fact and how we're raised, and they go together. And it's a certain thing that I think about. It's sort of a strong feeling in, I would say, Christian circles.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be non-Christian circles, but it sort of is. It's sort of about being around certain things or seeing certain things and them being a bad influence on you. And sort of the idea that if you like go out in public, or if you go to certain, like you could never take a family vacation to Vegas because you don't know what you're going to see there, and we don't want to expose you to such things, or we don't want to allow you to watch certain things on TV.
Yeah.
Because they might. So, I mean,
Angelica on the Rugrats has a bad attitude.
Angelica on the Rugrats has bad attitude.
So we don't want you to gain that bad attitude.
Yeah, so there's more extremes and less extreme versions of this. And, I mean, everybody does this to some degree because, not everybody's toddler is watching freaking some horror movie or something like that. So we all understand wherever your line is. Everybody understands sort of like stages about what's appropriate and for what a child can handle or whatever. But especially for like being a Christian, sometimes parents will be like, their lines for what's good or bad to be influenced is maybe sort of different from dominant culture, and sort of to a place where people who grew up in strict households can find it really restricting. They, it's sort of like a matter of like something they, don't like when they grow up, and it's a reason they're not a Christian anymore. Or it's a reason they sort of resent their parents, mm-hmm. or have a bad relationship with them because they were so strict, and now they're whatever. Anyways, that's the whole point. And I thought about, now there is an article I read today since the Queen's Gambit has come out.
The chess show. Netflix.
And sorry, because I think we've talked about this on the podcast before, but it came up again recently, which is the Queen's Gambit came out on Netflix. It's been watched by a bazillion people, mm-hmm. and that's part of it. It's been watched by so many people, and everywhere. Searches for chessboards have gone up. Sales on Amazon of chessboards have gone up. Everything like chess-related searches, chess-related,
chess moves,
games,
chess masters,
everything.
chess boards.
Oh, watching chess matches. Oh my gosh, drama. I actually love watching chess.
Speed chess.
Speed chess is better. Oh, there was this thing where at the World Championships this year, Magnus Carlsen.
Was it where the guy hit the wrong clock button?
No. This was, they were all tied, and he sort of like gave up, or they like went to a draw in the last match instead of sort of like fighting out like where the moves would go, and like he could possibly win. It wasn't a guarantee, but there was still possibility of him winning. But they had already done all the longer scale matches.
Yeah.
And when you do that, then the games go down to a set of speed chess games, and he's great at speed chess. The other guy he was playing is sort of like a computer guy, and he memorizes all these like moves. He like, he has all these like strings of moves he has memorized, but you don't have time to think of all those strings when you're doing speed chess. Yeah. So he basically gave up a shot of winning in the normal rounds to dominate in the speed rounds, which he did.
Ooh.
Ugh, drama. I loved it.
Did you watch Queen's Gambit?
I didn't watch Queen's Gambit. I don't love chess enough to watch Queen's Gambit. I
You
don't watch, but
you don't have to like chess. So watch Queen's
I know,
Gambit.
yeah, but I don't watch a lot. But here's an example where people were fed a certain kind of media,
100%,
and it changed their behavior because they have something in their face. They're seeing it. They're maybe enjoying it, whatever, and it changed their behavior.
Oh yeah.
If they wouldn't have watched Queen's Gambit, presumably sales of chess paraphernalia would not be up 300% on Amazon, okay?
Yeah.
And then there's this statistic that I always think about, which is, now, you're going to say, is this related? Is suicides on the Golden Gate Bridge. Is they put a net where people did all these suicides off the Golden Gate Bridge.
Right.
And what they found out is that it did actually lower the suicide rate.
Oh, really?
In the city. It's not as if people couldn't do suicides off the Golden Gate Bridge, so then they found different ways to commit suicide.
Yeah.
They found out when they put out the net, the suicide rate actually dropped.
Gave them like the chance.
Exactly. That physical change actually did change their behavior with something, and this is why I always think about it, something as dramatic as suicide. You think of to me, it's like, I think of suicide as like, hey, I'm gonna do this. This is suicide. It's such a large act. It's like, how could you not have your mind made up of like, this is the way I'm gonna do it? But then the city puts up these nets, and the suicide rate actually goes down. And so it changes people's behavior. So I will say there's something to that. And it just underscored it today when I read this thing about the Queen's Gambit. The Queen's Gambit is there is at least a little bit of wisdom in the idea that exposure to something does actually change your behavior, or can change your behavior. Or prolonged exposure to something can change your behavior in a way that wouldn't, the point of what I'm saying, that wouldn't just come out of you naturally.
Right.
You know? Yeah. All of a sudden, 2021, the year people are just magically in love with chess. It's not like that. It has a definite, and that was a thing. They did that. They had that suicide show that was on MTV or Netflix or something.
Logan Paul.
No, I can't read it. Like Reasons Why, 13 Reasons Why, or something
Oh,
like that.
yeah.
Is that what it's called?
That's Netflix. 13 Reasons Why. Yeah,
They found out
the song, the sound where she's like, "That smile is that damn smile."
every time they dropped an episode, especially when they dropped season premieres, suicides would spike in teen girls across the country.
Yeah.
So actually, you could say, and so people asked them not to renew season 2. In the article,
I remember that.
the article I read was basically like asking them not to do season 2, and so, or all these groups were saying, please don't do a season 2. And then the article is saying, like, you could make an argument that basically they said, you know, making a season 2 of this is worth, you know, an increased suicide rate because this TV show we want to make this TV show. It's just interesting.
Like, they're saying it like teaches people about
Yeah.
going through all that stuff.
Or at least like gives them the idea that, you know, it makes it sort of a viable option for them or something.
I knew someone that, like, I want to say that, like, is either like they separated themselves, like, it was just like, you know, like at the hip or whatever, or just like, I can't think of really like how to describe it, but it was like, you know, they're like physically disconnected, you know, with like their hips and body and whatnot. Maybe it must have been from their parents at that time, that age group for everything, but you know what I mean?
No.
I'm saying
I'm having a Stevie Weeby moment.
Yeah,
I'm
sorry,
hearing you.
You're speaking English,
You're
but I'm
speaking
hearing
English, but what I'm hearing is you said that I know because I know somebody who's disconnected from their hips.
Oh, I didn't mean to say that. It's like that. Me. I can't even.
Okay. That's
I
okay.
guess what I was saying is just like, I don't know.
What were they what were you trying to say about the person? What were they disconnected from?
I guess it's kind of like they were like able to like make some like decisions on their own or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're not like feeling like they need to like self-harm or whatever. And
Yeah.
it was just like they're their own person, and it's like they're their own body and whatever comes with it. I've never gone through anything like that, so I don't maybe understand it the best. But those like physical things that maybe they struggle with, and they're, you know, having a hard time with in terms of all that.
Yeah, I was just trying to say the relationship between, you know, what your influences are and what you consider your sort of willful behaviors are is actually like more complicated than just like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
And so, you know,
maybe that's what I was trying to say is like, it's not just like, oh, I don't want to follow my parents.
Yeah.
But it's like they actually, you know, have a little more like understanding of like how they feel and what their body's going through and whatnot. It's
something I think about, you know, people my age, you know, we're all like processing right now all the inputs we got from our parents.
Oh, was that the feature comic was like, I'm 37 now, so I've reached the point where I actually love my parents.
Oh yeah.
That was funny.
Good transition. So I wanted to transition into, since we were talking about Mark Norman, still Mark Norman night. It's the next day, technically after Mark. Oh, happy May 1st. Happy May Day.
And it's gonna be May.
It is May now. And we're dancing around the maypole right now, which is something that people did, surprisingly.
Midsummer.
And we have our little ribbons. They're tied around the top. We're doing sort of a skipping dance around. We're wearing our bonnets and our flowers, and
we're choosing the May Queen or whatever.
And so
the virgins are sacramenting the spring solstice, and they're getting crushed by the large wooden thing. Their blood is blessing the fruits of the fields.
Thank you. Sacrifices. But we went and saw the comedian tonight, and then you were talking about open mic nights, and it makes me think about this weekend where it was like sort of I was the funniest in my life.
What?
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was the funniest, but to everybody else, I was the funniest person alive for one weekend.
Where was I?
I was this weekend's Mark Normand.
Ooh.
So I went to Missouri to Joplin to do training with CIY when I was doing all this Cambodia stuff and doing trips and things like that.
This was not this weekend.
No, not this weekend.
Okay.
This is and I went there and I showed up late. And I was like the only person who freaking wasn't from Missouri, pretty much. Mm-hmm. And everybody knew each other. And I was just like this weirdo from, near Seattle, Satan's butthole to them. Mm-hmm. And so I show up and we're doing these activities, but the night gets over early. It's like it's kind of like a Friday, Saturday sort of training thing, whatever. But there's some downtime. And so at one point we're like driving around and I make some jokes in the car that just have, everybody just like dying, laughing. And I don't know what it was. I mean, some of the things I said were funny, but if I try to like repeat them now, they're not funny. Right. It's like, we saw this guy in this like hoopty car, but from his like rearview mirror, he had these two little like baby booties, and I was like, that's to remind him what he does it for. Just like that. Yeah. You would have think I should have like a Netflix stand-up special. Yeah. The way that people like were falling all over themselves in the car. And I had this, sort of friend I made online. We ended up going to Cambodia together. And I was like, I went back to my hotel like one time. And the way I didn't have anything else to do. And so I like turned on the TV, and the way the bathroom was, I could like sit in the bathtub, and it was like an extended stay place. So I had like a little apartment basically. Yeah. And everything was like super clean because it was like brand new hotel. So I was like, I didn't feel that weird. Yeah. But I took a bath in this like jacuzzi tub, and I could sort of lay or kind of like.
Baths are superior if you have the setup for it.
And I sort of. I wasn't even dirty. I just had the afternoon. Right. I just got in the bath. I turned on like Dr. Phil or like
106.9
or one of those types of shows, and I just watched some, daytime Emmy television. Ellen was Ellen on then. Mm-hmm, yep. Ellen was on, but I don't think I watched her. And I watched some Dr. Phil or whatever was on.
Dr. Oz.
Oh, I would not watch him. Oh, he's awful. And so I got back to the training that night. We had some Chipotle, and they said, Michael, what'd you do this afternoon? And I said, oh, I was just girling out. Because that's just like, to me, that's what it was. I was like relaxing. I was like pampering myself. It was like taking a bath. I was just watching some sort of, motherly, sort of womanly afternoon television. So I was like girling out.
I get that now that you said that, but if you just said girling out, I wouldn't have got it.
Yeah, so I was just like girling out. And I saw this girl like 3 years later when we went to Cambodia. She's like, oh my gosh, all my friends, we all say girling out now. That was so funny. Oh. And I was like, oh, that's such a random thing I said, but it was just so funny because all weekend I was like the funniest person on the planet.
Yeah, they connected to it.
It was so funny. Like we went to get ice cream, and there was this other group of like junior high kids, and for some reason the youth group was like roasting us, and then we were like
girling it.
we were like roasting them, and everything I said, it was like, yeah, the funniest thing they'd ever heard in their life. And I don't remember anything I learned at that weekend, but I do know I felt better about myself that weekend than I've like ever felt about myself since.
When I went to Thanksgiving, it was like it's like a bunch of people. I went to this like Friendsgiving, but I only knew one person there, Lauren, and so someone made this Tuscan chicken soup.
By the way, you, and probably I would too if she was a significant person in my life, but you say her name is like one syllable.
Lauren. Well,
the only person I knew there was Lauren. Okay.
And this was like very at the beginning.
Very beginning.
Yeah. And someone brought Tuscan chicken soup, which was great. Anyway, he may have had a little ASD or something like that, you know, a little touch of the tism or something. And I was like, oh, he's like, oh, I made this Tuscan chicken soup. I was like, oh, yeah. I'm like, oh, from the Tuscan Raiders. you know what I'm talking about.
I get it.
And I was like, this is like the nerdiest guy out of the whole group of people. I was like, he's got to get this reference, Tuscan Raiders.
And he got it.
No, just complete like, what are you talking about? I'm like, Star Wars, Tuscan Raiders. You just no. I was like, oh well. Anyway, looks good.
Looks good. Thank you for the sun-dried tomatoes.
Yeah. So that bombed Tuscan Raider soup, but Tuscan Raider chicken soup, probably put it on a some sort of online Star Wars cookbook somewhere. Probably make millions of dollars.
Oh, it's got to be out there.
Yeah. And anyway. But so like that one bombed, but then, I was like at a fresh crowd, you know?
Yeah, fresh crowd.
So it was like any of these like little one-liners.
That's what I was, fresh crowd.
Yeah, fresh crowd. Any sort of like one-liners you got, it's like, oh, I'm locked and loaded now. These people don't know all my, my jokes. They don't know me. I could say anything I want. It was pretty good.
I know. Yeah, I don't know what to this day, I try to think like, what was it about that? Was it just, because it was just so funny. It was just so like out of the ordinary. I mean, I've been funny before, and obviously you listen to this podcast, I'm a crack up 24/7. Just like when I was talking about suicide earlier. But, but just from like a, 1 + 1 = 2 sort of like, I just think like, is there something I was doing? What was it that made it? Not that I want to recreate it, but I just want to have some sort of like explanation of why it was such a wild weekend where everything that came out of my mouth was, so funny. It was like, pre-TikTok, I should have made a reel out of that.
Reels.
Should have put that on Vine. Thank you for listening. Subscribe.
Subscribe. Please comment with your suggestions. Please tell a friend.
Yeah, now it's a countdown to video. I'll be just
videos on the way.
Updates soon.